I'd like to call the annual town meeting to order. And the first order of business is the reading of the warrant. So if I could ask the town clerk, read the posting.
You are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting up a It's every year.
Directly into the
Talk directly into this microphone.
You are directed to serve this warrant by posting up attested copies thereof at the town office building, the Sunderland Public Library, and the Sunderland Post Office in said Sunderland 7 days at least before the holding of said meeting. Hereof fail not, and make due return of this warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of meeting aforesaid. Pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Sunderland by posting up attested copies of the same at the town office building, at the Sunderland Public Library, and the Sunderland Post Office, 7 days at least before the date hereof, as within directed. Frederick A. Laurinaitis, April 20th, 2017, at 11:25 a.m.
Thank you. We have a valid town meeting.
Thanks.
And to begin the meeting, I'd like to ask you all to, can't hear? How are you now? Wow. Okay, to begin the meeting, I'd like to ask you all to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. The flag is on the right-hand side of the stage. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For those of you who haven't been here before, the purpose of the meeting is to pass the warrant, which is the directive for the town for the coming year. The folks on the stage are Wendy Houle, who is the town clerk immediately to my right, and she is the most important person, as I've said before, because she keeps the official record. Whether it's wrong or right, it's going to be the official record of the meeting. To Wendy's right is our members of the Board of Selectmen, Tom Feidenkevitz, who is chair, Scott Bergeron, and David Pierce. To David's right is Sherry Patch, and Sherry is the town administrator. Now, I may be jumping the gun on this a little bit, but one of the things that has always made our town meetings run very, very smoothly is the amount of effort that has been put in by the members of the select board and the town administrator. If you follow the preparation for this meeting on TV, you follow their Monday night sessions, you wonder how anybody in his or her right mind would embark on such an endeavor. And it's due to their hard work that the meeting works. Over to my, in the back, being quiet for now, is our town council, David Jenkins. And if we ever have any issues in terms of the legality of a motion or results or voting, then we count on him to straighten us out. Over to my left are members of the Finance Committee, and Francis Mosea is the co-chair, and he's going to introduce the other members of the board.
Hi, welcome. My name is Francis Mosea. I'm the vice chair of the Finance Committee. Sean Randall is the chair, but he's away tonight for work. On my right is Alex Akatsura. Next to her is Elliot Krohn. To my left is Bruce Bennett and Dan Murphy, who's hiding behind the curtain here.
Okay.
Thank you.
The Finance Committee plays an integral role in tonight's meeting because they're the ones that are responsible for the initial development of the budget. And it's through their efforts in meeting with department heads and other folks, schools, committees, and whatnot, that they come up with the numbers. Then they sit down with the Board of Selectmen and they hash things out. Now, if anybody is looking for a very exciting activity, we are always looking for members of the Finance Committee. And it is a very high-paying job. By law, you cannot pay the Finance Committee. But regardless, we always have folks that step forward and are willing to participate in this endeavor. So if you're interested, get in touch with me, Bob Doobie, I'm the moderator, either here or by phone or email, and let me know whether or not you're interested, because we're always looking for folks. Now, one of the things that we might need tonight is tellers. And tellers for tonight, if I could ask Liz Sillen, Jennifer Uncles, Dan Van Selson, and Mike Zioli to come forward and get sworn in.
Shake your head, smile.
Just don't forget the non-voters are kind of mixed in between there. Like Mariana and Dennis and Steve should be up. Which is not one. And the school committee. Everybody there is supposed to be fine. When they bring me up the number, I'll make sure that they weed it out. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, a couple of orders of business. You all have copies of the warrant in front of you. And one of the motions I'd like to entertain is that we dispense with the reading of the motions. So that would be great if somebody would make the motion that we're going to dispense with the reading of all of the motions. Is there a second to that? Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. I got one more thing to do. Okay. The other motion that I need is that some of the votes tonight are going to require a 2/3 majority. A lot of times we'll get the vast majority voting in favor and one or two folks voting against. In order to make the vote legal in that situation, then I have to ask for a standing or a counted vote. Now, what I would ask is that someone would make a motion that would allow the moderator to determine a 2/3 vote by a voice vote. We're not taking away anybody's rights because any 7 people in attendance can ask for a counted vote on any article. So all it is a way of expediting the proceedings.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. The last part of the preliminaries are from the town report. And those of you who have looked at the town report, either in hard or soft or on the web, the dedication this year is for Dana Roscoe. And is Dana here tonight? It's great to see Dana receive this award from the standpoint that I can remember when he and Lauren came into town, and Dana immediately got involved in activities in the town, and he never stopped. So either as parts of committees or behind the scenes, he has truly been a workhorse in getting things done in the town of Sunderland. So he is definitely deserving of the award. Now, the next part is the in memoriam, and this year there are 4 people, one of whom is Sophie Buzinski. And I think it's a little bit ironic that tonight we're going to be discussing Sophie's property. She was the owner of 120 North Main Street, where the senior housing is proposed. And Sophie was always involved in the town, and particularly in committees that involved the aged. So we thank her for her years of service and in having the foresight to say, I'd like to see my residents preserved as or for senior housing. The next individual is Al, better known to Reuben to some folks, Drake. Reuben was another workhorse in terms of getting things done with the fire department. He was on the fire department for years, was an assistant chief as well as an EMT. And his activities as an EMT came home to me one night when I was living on Route 116. There was an auto accident involving an auto and a motorcycle. And the EMTs showed up, and Reuben was one of them. And his professionalism in dealing with that situation was just totally amazing. Here this person was laying on the street all banged up, leg really mangled, and Reuben just stepped right in and took over and dealt with it like a true professional would. The other thing is he was on the planning board, he was on the men's club, and he really liked activities for kids. He was very instrumental in organizing a fishing derby that the men's club put on that we had up at the town park for a number of years. He was very, very active in that. So Reuben is sorely missed by the town. The next person is Tony Codrico. Tony Codrico was a carpenter by trade and a low-key player in town, and served as a field driver. And field drivers back then were important because if your cows got out, you had to have somebody to go get them and examine the fences to make sure that they were going to stay in. It's a little bit ironic as well that sitting in my garage is a small stepladder that I purchased from Tony when he had a tag sale when they were living down on South Silver Lane. So the next person, Bob Kowalik. Bob Kowalik was a fixture in town, and served as an assessor for, I believe, 36 years. How many folks here can remember Bob Kowalek's package store over in Demo's building? How many folks can remember that? Not very many. But he ran a
Of course,
package.
I wasn't 18, so I didn't go in.
Oh, yeah, right. He had the package store there, and then he moved it to where the bicycle shop was just out of. So, again, Bob, in his 36 years as an assessor, which saw transitioning from cards to computers and professional help, again, earned his keep as far as making sure that the town worked well. So we thank all of these folks for their efforts in making Sunderland the town that it is today.
Very nice.
How many folks, when they came to this meeting tonight, I drove from South Plain Road up 47, and I marveled at the town of Sunderland in terms of the farmland and how neat everything looks. And it's through the type of government that we have that we've been able to maintain and develop the town the way that it is. And that's what makes town meeting so important and special. Okay. We'll begin. Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move that the town vote to hear the reports of the Selectmen, the Sunderland School Committee, and all other town officers, boards, committees, and commissions.
Second.
Okay. The reports are found in the town report and in the town report that's on the website. So, anybody have any questions or comments about the town reports? Okay, if not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare it unanimous. 2.
I'd like to move Article 2, Mr. Moderator.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay some old bills. These are bills that have occurred in past fiscal years.
You did?
Any comments? Select Board. Will. One last thing that I've neglected. Tonight we have 2 roving microphones, and I would ask those who are going to speak to use a microphone. If you're going to use the lectern up here, then they will provide you with the microphone.
What do you say? What do you say?
I don't know.
We couldn't hear you well.
I have to. I have to.
That's okay.
Well, maybe I'll.
Mr. Moderator, if I could modify the motion to include the word "to" appropriate?
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay,
Thanks, Will.
motion's been made and seconded to add the word "to." All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Voted unanimously. Now on to the what?
The
Main
actual
motion.
article? Yeah, sure, if I could, Mr. Moderator. Some of these are...
Into the microphone, please.
Sorry.
They
I got
tell
it.
us that these are new microphones and that we have to speak directly
directional.
into them.
I like it. Thanks. We have, of course, a fiscal year that closes with a short extension on July 15th of each year. And there are a handful of these invoices. One reclaimed invoice for Blue Cross from 2014, an Eversource supply bill from 2015. And then we have one more invoice here, again, a collection account that's from Eversource. These are unpaid from prior years. Historically, we had a special town meeting to operate on these, and then the legislators, in their infinite wisdom, said that we could use the Mass Municipal Act and do these in a regular session. So that's what these are for, unpaid from prior years.
Just old bills.
That's exactly
We've
correct.
received the goods or services, and now we have to pay the shortfalls. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, declare it unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 3.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded for Article 3, which sets the salaries for the elected officials in town. Any question on the salaries?
You want to read the budget one?
I will read the budget one, yeah.
How many folks here would work for roughly $3,000 and do the work that the Board of Selectmen does?
Want to read that one?
Read, I think, that's Tom's.
Any discussion?
Makes sense.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare it unanimous. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 4, please.
Second?
Okay. Article 4 is the so-called omnibus budget for the town. That is the operating budget for next year. And no, that's not a misprint in the first line. That number is $7,058,571. And that covers the majority of the expenses for next year. It includes school, it includes the operating budget for the town, it includes everything. In the past, what we've done is gone down through each of the items that make up the budget. I'm assuming that you all have copies of the budget. This sheet. And what we do is go down through them, and if anybody wants to discuss that, raise your hand and we'll put a hold on it. And when we determine the numbers that the sections that we want to discuss, we go back and discuss them individually. Okay. Town of Sunderland fiscal year 18 town meeting budget. Total general government. The FY18 budget is $420,865, an increase of $9,785, or 2.4%. Okay. Total town buildings, which includes personnel services and expenses. And the budget is $219,579, an increase of $79,647, or 56.9% increase.
Hold, Mr. Moderator.
Got a hold on town
Total
buildings.
police department. Personnel, expenses, and the regional EMS, emergency medical. Total budget is $246,863, a decrease of $27,901, or a 10.2% decrease.
That's the fire department, Mr. Moderator.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm ahead of myself here. Total, wait a minute. Total police department. I skipped the police
Well,
department.
you started with the police department, so you just have to read them.
What's that?
You just have to read them.
Okay, so total police department was 18,430, an increase of 4.4%, right? I'm not following my own instructions. Do we need to have it louder?
Thank you.
Is this going to give me feedback?
Try it.
Okay.
There
It's like a torch singer.
I can't tell the difference because I'm deaf. Okay, total police department, $438,658, an increase of $18,430.
No. It's 442,982, the total for the police department.
Did you give him the trick copy?
I've got the same thing he has. Total police department.
18.
That's what you're.
18,430.
He's reading down.
Oh, he was reading all the other lines.
$658, an increase of $18,530, or 4.4%. We must have different.
What is going on here?
Different numbers.
Thank you.
So
438, 442.
442,982, is that what you have?
handouts around.
His handout is for?
Yep.
I got, because I have 438,658. What do you have
I
in
have
yours?
4.4.
You had 438.
So we'll be using mine.
Right. So
Okay. So we have the wrong.
we have the wrong one.
I don't.
So does your number, if I could, Mr. Moderator, does a handout number for the police department read 442? Is that the number?
My numbers read
Understood. I want to know what their numbers
Their
read.
numbers are 442.
Perfect. Thank you. We've got the wrong ones.
How many copies did you get there?
Are we all on the same page?
What's the number?
442.
How did we get the wrong one?
I will find that out.
Wendy, what? How did we get this number?
That's an old handout, right? That's an old handout.
Thank you, Alex. Wendy,
We
Wendy,
haven't got to even put in the number
I
on it.
have a right one now.
does he have the right one?
He has the right one. Without, do you know?
Okay, town clerk for bookkeeping reasons wants us to start over.
I'll have one.
Scott.
So, we'll start with
Thanks.
total general government, $420,865, an increase of $9,785, or 2.4%.
Yes, that's correct. Correct. Yeah.
I'm going to count on you. Total town buildings,
Buildings, right.
$219,579, an increase of $79,647, or 56.9%.
Hold, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, we'll be discussing that. Total police department, 442,982,
Yes. That's the right number.
22,754, 5.4% increase.
Yes.
What was that?
Is that a whole?
Hold. Total fire department, $246,863, a decrease of $27,901, or a decrease of 10.2%.
Swear scams.
What was the
Hold on that.
Which one's that?
Total inspectors and other protection, $39,226, a decrease of $10,492, or 21.1%. Total highway, $272,478, a decrease of $8,822, or
Increase.
An increase, excuse me. Total health and sanitation, 24,206, zero increase. Total library, 134,588, 6,971 increase, or 5.5%. Total elementary school, $2,500,338, an increase of $124,148, or 5.2%. Total Franklin County Tech Assessment, 101,400, an increase of 3,652, or 3.7% increase. Total Frontier Assessment, $1,731,437, an increase of $25,057, or 1.5%. Out-of-district tuition, $45,610, a decrease of $556, or 1.2%. Okay. Next one is total benefits and insurance, $721,200, an increase of $91,279, or 14.5%. Total miscellaneous and reserve fund, $110,901, a decrease of $4,967, a decrease of 4.3%. Giving us a total operating budget of $7,011,673, an increase of $374,365, or 5.6%. It's the total increase in the operating budget. Okay, other expenses. The wastewater treatment budget, $338,791, a decrease of $23,768. That's a decrease of 6.6%. Total debt and interest, $228,105, a decrease of $4,327, or 1.9%. A grand total of, when we factor those numbers in, it's a grand total of $7,578,569, an increase of $300,104, or 4.1% for the total budget. For those folks who aren't aware, the wastewater treatment budget is paid for by the sewer users. It's not part of money that's raised by taxation. Okay.
Good question.
Really? Okay, fine. Total inspectors and protection, Will? Okay. Now, under holds, the first one is the total town buildings. And I believe, Tom, that was yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The first thing I would like to add is Article 4 is contingent upon a 2.5 override, and that override vote will take place on May 6th. So the budget as presented is contingent upon that override, where there's really a structural deficiency in the budget as we go through it. So one of the reasons I wanted to put the hold on the that particular item about town buildings, if you look to the east of where we're sitting, actually outside the door, you'll see there's a solar array outside there. That solar array will be bringing income into the town through an agreement that we have with Bright Energy. It actually has changed hands a couple times. So what we've done is the select board is now taking all of the energy billing for all the buildings in town, bringing it into one location. So basically that line item is an accounting change, and that's why you have the huge increase there, and we have decreases in other accounts because we're taking it out of the building operation. So we didn't want to confuse anybody, and we know when people see big numbers or big percentage change, people take notice. So we just want to let everyone know what's happening with that. Okay. What? It raises that amount in that line item, Caitlin. There's decreases in other parts of there are decreases in where the energy was going. There's decreases in other locations.
So is that the cost of putting in,
No, it's a cost of realignment. So every other department, a cost of energy is being moved from those departments into this line item. That's why we have this large increase.
It's actually, if I could, Mr. Moderator, it's actually not a cost. The costs are being recaptured in a single spot in the budget. They're taken from this building, they're taken from the town office building, they're taken from all of the energy lines that the PV system is being allocated to, so that we'd have them in one spot in the budget. So there's not a net increase of the 100 and change. It's actually pulled from a bunch of different spots to put in one space so that it was administratively easier to allocate, as opposed to going to the school, the treatment plant, the town office building. We're building one account. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's nothing to do with construction. And actually, from a historical perspective, a number of years ago, when we were collectively working on a budget as a finance committee member, we chose to put all town buildings in one space. And it was very much the same question. It was like, where the hell did that come from? Well, it came from a bunch of other spaces, and we put it in one area so you could actually look at it in total. Okay, thank you. Get a hand up. Correct.
So I guess what was left in there, and then if this all ended down to zero, then what was the impetus behind it, or additional revenues coming in somewhere else?
Sure, it's a great question. If I could, Mr. Chair, Mr. Moderator, we're actually not calculating revenue stream this year because we haven't had a full year's performance. We've had effectively 3 months worth of performance right now, and needed to know if we're going to hit the benchmarks in the lease agreement with Kearsarge, whoever they are. The reason that the system is not netting out to zero is that it is half of the system that was originally applied for, and it does not cover all of the expense, all of the generation, doesn't generate all of the offsets required to operate the town. That's a good question. We're like 60-something%. If there was a second array at the treatment plant, we would be neutral next year. And that's just not the case. The nice folks who are proposing a 1-point-something megawatt system down the road blocked us on a project that, I'm going to get me animated now, Dylan. blocked us from actually building out our second system by requiring more detailed engineering on a system they already approved. Thanks.
You don't think he has an opinion on this, do you?
We're not done with that one yet.
Anyway,
All technology has a built-in obsolescence.
sure.
Therefore, has it been built into the budget, the removal of
Yes, actually it has. That was part of the contingency in the contract. And speaking to the obsolescence section specifically too, the firm Kearsarge may actually put in newer and more efficient equipment if that works out. So, but yeah, we specifically made sure that we had costs in there for removal, because at the end of that, we can either buy it or have it removed. So we wanted to make sure that was covered.
Great question.
Any other questions on that? Okay, we'll move on. The next one is total police department. Something you want to hold on that.
You got it, Scott.
Specific to the police department or a general, a global?
Just the police.
So the police expense growth is in two specific areas. One is the contractual obligation with staff at 3%. There is an increase in officers' full-time wages, which is the 3% at $7,450. There is an increase because of scheduling, not because of salary, of $7,000 for part-time. That's to infill unfilled schedules. And then there is a police department expense line of $7,659, which is the other big nut. This is the first full year of capturing in the expense line the travel expenses of the police chief who actually lives in the town of Barry. And the difference in that value and the purchase or the requirements of a rolling asset, a cruiser, the board certainly felt was a better use of the taxpayers' money than a $38,000 or a $45,000 cruiser trucking back and forth to Barry. I don't know how else to be more candid than that. We're paying IRS mileage after the 20-mile mark. So we're not paying it door to door, it's 20 miles, and then the difference between 20 miles and his house in Barry, and that's tracked. We have that coming in as a fixed expense, I'm sorry, as a traceable expense. Sorry, Frenchman talking with his hands. You're welcome.
Anyone else on that? Okay. The next one is fire. Somebody wanted to hold on fire.
Mr. Moderator, thank you for the question. Out front, you saw a South County EMS ambulance. This year, South County EMS has used, I've got to use the right word, they have what they call retained earnage or retained monies that were the difference between what we budgeted and what we actually brought in for revenue. The ambulance is still accounted for under the fire department line item. So this year the fire department's line item was reduced because South County assessment to the town of Sunderland has been reduced. And I hope none of us have to use it, but if you do, right now we have a 7-minute and 7-second average response time. And the greatest, when you're on a board of selectmen, there's a lot of things that sometimes you shake your head and like Bob said, you ask why you do it. But when you look at South County EMS and you look at what our paramedics and EMTs have done in a very short time, it's one of the things that makes you smile and glad that you do work. Doug, repeat the question.
The question I heard is what exactly are we spending the money on? It's a big budget to go through line by line. The increases, there's a certain amount of increase in our budget every year, like there's most budgets. It's salary increases from the previous year that are part of the contracts. We have had our
And now we've changed that to 2 full-time classrooms. Because we have to, if we don't provide these services at this age, then we have to send the services to where the children are. So it behooves us to bring them in.
It varies, year by year. We're still a relatively small town, obviously. So in any given year, 1 or 2 is 2 is 10%. So it varies a lot, and that's one of the things for us. It's, as a committee with our budgets, it's tricky because the predictability is not great. So there's a question to that.
No, my question is, specifically, what are the special needs?
We're seeing a lot of children coming in with autism, on the autism spectrum.
Hi, Greg Gottschalk, Vice Chair of the Sunderland School Committee. So we see a $124,000 increase on total elementary. But when we look at out-of-district tuition, we're seeing $45,000. What we really tried to do is to keep the total bill to the town low by doing stuff locally in the school. Because that out-of-district tuition, you may be looking at $100K a kid. And so while it seems like, this override is going to raise your taxes, in the long term, no, it isn't. It's going to save you money, because if you have to send those kids out, we have to provide these services. We're legally mandated to provide these services. And if the kids don't get the services in our town, they'll get them somewhere else, and we get stuck with a bill.
And likewise with the choice, we saw it happen the last time. Our choice out bill went up dramatically, and our choice in went down. That's reversed. We went from having over 20 kids choicing out in the elementary to it's 6 this year, and that's about a baseline of there's always going to be reasons that people do it, family reasons and other reasons, but.
My quick follow-up would be the issue of autism. I think my statistics, if they are correct or incorrect, I don't know, but autism seems to have been on the dramatic rise throughout the country. And my question, and you don't have to answer this tonight, is that what then becomes the criteria for autism, and how do you then treat it, and how does that reflect the budget, and is that factored into the medical business? Thank you.
So I'm going to let that be a sidebar with probably our special ed director and what the criteria are. And so I love town meeting, and I love the democracy of town meeting. I would also love it if more folks showed up for school committee when we go through these on a monthly basis, and exactly these kind of issues, and talk about it. So encourage folks to come out. I know some of you do occasionally, and we appreciate it.
I was just going to add that what we do know is that early intervention is key to also keeping the cost low. So by treating this stuff aggressively in kindergarten and pre-K, we know that that's going to keep our total, it's going to give you a better outcome for the kids, but it's also going to keep your taxes lower.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other questions on school? Okay, thank you. It's good to see a discussion on the school, because it's one of the largest items in the budget, and we've had several town meetings when people don't even question it. So it's good to see discussion on it. Thank you. Next hold was on total benefits and insurance. There was a hold on that.
Hi, Dylan Corpita, 51 South Main Street. Before my question on benefits, which is related to OPEB, could I ask a quick question on this spreadsheet overall? Looking at the bottom right, the total budget of 7578569 is an increase of $300,104, right? If I look at the total operating budget of 7011673, that's an increase of 374,365. If I take the two steps below the operating budget, I don't get to 300,000. I get to like 345.
We're checking on it.
Actually, Dylan, we'll drill down on that. We're going to drill down on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You do that one, I'll try to.
Question about OPEB was if the town, I don't know if it's a select board or finance committee, has a plan for what's going on to the funds in the OPEB trust fund. My concern about the town's doing this is it's really just a restricted stabilization fund, and I'd rather see the monies going into less restrictive stabilization funds, and some towns are being more proactive about trying to manage their investments in these accounts, and I don't really think that any town, that's really their job to be an investment advisor. So that's my question.
You guys want to define OPEB?
Yeah, you can define OPEB.
Sorry.
For those of you who don't know what OPEB is,
The definition of OPEB?
Not for him, but for the audience.
So there's a post-employment obligations. Hey, Mike. Thanks, Mike. So obligation for prior and retired retirees. The town itself has only established the fund 3 years ago at town meeting and has had 2 contributions. I think we're nearing $50,000 or $60,000 with another 28 going this year. The town actually interviewed. We don't plan on any way, shape, or form of managing those funds. We actually publicly interviewed 3 agencies, one of them being the PRIM at the state level, 2 being privates, and the treasurer collector is taking that information and is bringing it forward a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So it will not be managed by the town at all, if that was the line of questioning. Yeah.
You know, OPEB, as you know, we're paying it every year anyway.
Right.
And then all the benefits, is to try to put away money.
Sure.
To pay for it in the future.
Yeah.
And so I worry that we're going to get to a point where we need more general stabilization funds,
Sure.
and this won't be able to be used because it's been side pocketed.
Yep. No, you actually raise a really good point. And at the annual MMA meeting, we're going to get deep in the weeds. So we're going to talk about money now. There's a real tension between the 2 philosophies, and that is, do you fully fund or incrementally fund up to the full obligation, which, as you know, is dynamic. Some people retire in bulk, some people retire individually, and they are paid for essentially in real time. The question about the OPEB piece and the philosophy around the OPEB piece, this board is still actively discussing. Our liability is up there, but I don't think we have to have. Personally, I don't think we have to have the total value of that OPEB liability sitting around, as you said, because it directly affects those reserves. We'd rather have that in stabilization so it can actually be allocated. We're only beginning on that discussion, and I encourage the involvement going forward. We have, at the end of this year, at the end of this budget cycle, less than $100,000. So we have an obligation of well over $1 million, but they're not going to have $1 million worth of obligations walk out at one time. So there's a tipping point where it makes sense to pull back on that and use those born rates, not unlike we have other funds that we use only the expendable value out of the gained interest borne on those funds. So yeah, I completely agree. From a cash flow point of view, it's terrible. Unfortunately, it's also mandated. So we're looking to ride that seesaw right in the middle. But thanks.
thank you. Sunderland isn't the only one that has OPEB problems. I think every town in the state has, right?
It's mandated, yeah. Nobody has, many states, many municipalities, counties, agencies have adopted the statute. Some have actually gone ahead and funded a lot of it, and there is questions about really how far you actually go with it. And I agree, you tie up a lot of reserves for anticipation of retirement. That obligation is as dynamic as the contribution should be. Bob, you've retired 4 times.
Okay. Any other total benefits and insurance? Okay. Before we vote, Tom, you wanted to make some comments?
Mr. Moderator, at one of our last meetings, the moderator asked for either the Finance Committee or the Board of Selectmen to put together a presentation to explain the budget. And we had discussions about putting pie charts, and we're great at pie charts, bar charts. We can make all kinds of charts, but we've never had an opportunity, or in our format that we've always used, we never told you what the Board of Selectmen, what we strive to do, what guides us when we're putting our budget together. So if you would, I'd just like to take a second to explain. And I'm listening to 1 through 7, but there's not one that's more important than the others. They're all important to us, and we believe is what makes Sunderland what it is today. The first thing is, for the last 8, 9, 10 years, we want to support our senior centers, our senior citizens. And we have done that by, if you look at what's going on at the South County Senior Center, and Sunderland is one of the few communities that's actually in a position right now where we're going to actually have a community of our side that's actually going to have a senior housing project that's going to be hopefully built in the very near future. That's a priority of ours. We have expended money, and that is in our sight, and that's one of our guiding priorities. The protection of open land. Protection of open land, every time there's ever been a survey done in the town of Sunderland about what's important to our residents of the town, open land has been a major consideration. How is that done? A lot of time, if you look down where the tobacco fields used to be on the corner of 47 and Plumtree, the Board of Selectmen worked very closely with the state and the town of Hadley to put together a package so the owners before the present potato farmers could come together and put that land under APR. Now, APR, before usually the state's looking for money, so they want a show of commitment from the towns. The town ponies up money, maybe 5%, 10%, 15%, but our town has been, and it goes back with Kurt Griffin and the Conservation Commission, it's probably 30 years, and Jim Williams, I'm not going to forget Jim Williams, it goes back a long time where the town of Sunderland has prioritized that. That costs money, but it also preserves our open space, and it also helps our farmers by putting that out there. The second thing is we support quality education. For anyone that doubts what happened the last time we had a failed override about what happens to a school that fails to provide the services that are readily available in schools nearby, I can tell you that on average a school choice student loses costs the town $18,000 on average. Can be more, can be a little less, but on average is $18,000. Right now, the town of Sunderland, and I'm surprised people never ask this question, but our cost is around $13,000 plus or minus, but we're in the lower third of the state. So if you want to ask about education, the cost of education, the town of Sunderland that has a number of school choice kids coming in. We take in more kids today than we send out in school choice. We average a little over $13,000 a student, and that's in the bottom third of our state. The schools are doing something really well. They're doing something really well. Unfortunately, most of us don't have the opportunity to tell the schools that they're doing a good job, because we never ask about that because we just see how it reflects on our tax bill. So we support our education, and that's one of the things that we think that's important. And I'm not going to leave out Frontier. Frontier is doing, if you see what those kids, if you have the opportunity to go to Frontier and see what those kids are doing, watch the Frontier. And I ask you, the Frontier baseball team goes to the senior center to help out clean up their yard around that building. Man, I'm proud of those kids. I'm proud of those kids. But that's what our schools are teaching our kids today. Forget what's in the paper. They're giving these kids an opportunity. We also support our core services in the town: our police department, our fire department, our highway department, and our ambulance service. I would gather to vote. I would gather to ask anybody how many towns get by with a 3-man highway department. The town of Sunderland does. I would ask many towns how they get by with 1 man in the sewer department. The town of Sunderland does work with 1 man. I would ask how, if you go into our town hall and you look at how everybody, there's no one that has or can get away with saying, that's not my job, because we don't have enough people to do that. Everybody works together. If Cindy's out one day, the town clerk is backing her up. If the town administrator is out one day, our selectman secretary is backing her up. So those are the things that we see every day. We support the cultural and recreational aspects of our town. We support our rec department, the cultural, and the other thing that I'd like to add for supporting when you talk about recreation, our library plays a very important part in that recreation. Many of our seniors go to the Friday morning coffee thing that they go to. Most people don't see that, but that's what happens, and we understand that, we see that, we listen, and we support that. We support an affordable inspectional services. Not many of us end up building a house, but if you do, many don't know that our electrical inspector, our plumbing inspector, our fire inspector, all work by fees. We don't pay them unless they go out and do a job. So if they don't have any business that comes in, they don't get paid. We do pay our building inspector, but our building inspector is also our zoning enforcement officer, and he gets called out all the time. And oh, by the way, the health department, the same thing with the health department, they work for fees as well. And finally, we put our money into our alternative energy investments. You look at the PV cell out here. We're looking at next year. We're looking at bringing LED streetlights. The town's looking at trying to bring LED streetlights to the town, so that we're going to take those back from Eversource. We're going to try to work it ourselves. We're trying to save money. Maybe we'll be able to put more streetlights up, which everybody's been asking for. But those are the things that we do. We're using green community monies to try to leverage monies in other aspects so that we can have bigger projects. So those are just some of the things that we look for, and those are the priorities of the Sunderland Board of Selectmen.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready to vote on the budget? I hope.
Mr. Moderator, if I could, an unanswered question. Dylan, we have a formula issue. We're good year to year. The number that we're voting is the right number. The difference is the 300,000. We have a cell problem from the detail budget to that top budget, and that's why it doesn't quite add up. But great catch. We have a 2 and we have a numbers. That's great. I appreciate the detail.
So the right number is the bottom line
Actually,
on the sheet.
He had his hand up one more time. Okay.
This is another question about the numbers, I guess. Looking at Article 4, it says appropriate from free cash the sum of 127,144 for the budget, which makes sense. And then looking at this page here, the OPEB cash comes out of free cash also, right? So should there also be 28,332 coming out of free cash to fund OPEB? Because that's not being raised and appropriated, right?
Good question. It's not a separate article, moving from free cash to OPEB? Nope. You're correct. Free cash, stabilization, free cash. We use it in use of cash sheets. Okay. We'll address that on June 16th as a separate warrant article. It won't affect this budget. It will affect the free cash usage sheet, though. Okay?
Okay.
Great.
So we're going to deal with the issue.
Yeah. June 16th.
Okay, so the bottom line then is Article 4, the budget is $7,578,569,000. That's what we're asked to raise and appropriate this year.
Does the motion include?
Okay.
1 second.
All those in favor of the budget, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Declare it unanimous. Thank you for the discussion again.
There's no OPEB funding right now.
Okay, Article 5.
Move Article 5.
Second.
One of the things,
Well, they have that sheet, Mr. Moderator, as a handout.
that's, okay. So, any questions on Article 5?
Mr. Moderator, if I could add, there is a balance and use of various accounts handout, and we're going into this annual town meeting with $342,481 in stabilization. This appropriation or transfer will allow a closing balance of $620,038. Now there was a change this year because of the abnormality of the value we had in free cash. There was accumulation of 2 years of Schedule A allocations, and then there was a series of funds from 2004 through 2009 that were closed out as the request, and rightly so, of our auditors, and they were sent to undesignated funds. That undesignated fund developed into this $700,000 worth of free cash. I've been on the Finance Committee and the board a long, long time, and we've never had a value like this. We won't have that value, I suspect, in a long, long time. We usually are in the range of $320,000 to $370,000 of free cash we generate.
So we're almost double this year.
This is an anomaly at the best stretch of the imagination.
Okay. Okay, any questions on Article 5? Now, with stabilization funds, it takes a majority vote to put money into the fund. If the reverse were true, we were taking money out of it, it requires a 2/3 vote. So putting money in is easy, getting it out is more difficult. Okay. All those in favor of Article 5, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Declare it unanimous. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 6.
Second.
Made and seconded.
So if I could, Mr. Moderator, address the difference here. Capital stabilization can be used, and it was created 3 town meetings ago, has been created 4 town meetings ago, a ballot question allowing an exemption on the tax rate to generate revenues exclusively for capital stabilization. Our free cash guideline, agreed with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, has free cash allocated essentially in short thirds. Third left moving forward, a piece for the operating budget, and then stabilization, capital stabilization. This year, again, an anomaly of free cash value, we are actually, we're deviating from that percentage to put more into regular stabilization. The reason being, capital stabilization is the statute is very, very clear. It can be used for debt service on capital, meaning buildings, rolling equipment, et cetera, engineering studies, some large software purchases, and that's it. So if we got involved with the need for revenues for a future vote, capital stabilization is a higher bar to get out of. So the mechanism's the same, but it's a narrower scope of what we can use the money for. That's why we put it in the prior article.
That's for Article
Yep.
5.
Yep. We will be leaving this town meeting with $79,197 in capital stabilization if both this article passes as well as the capital budget passes.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of Article 6?
Aye.
I thought I heard somebody wanting to hold it. Let's start over. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Declare it unanimous. Article 7.
Is that me? That's you, Tom.
Mr. Moderator, can you move Article 7, please?
I'll second.
A motion's been made and seconded to take money out of the capital stabilization fund.
Right. Yeah, this is the other half of the capital budget. So the town has capital improvements committee, which 2 years ago at this body was changed from the permanent building committee, so we could address the totality of our capital, that is replacement equipment, rolling stock, that all kind of came in through a variety of different channels. So capital improvements committee over the course of the summer and into the fall had met with FRCOG. We had a capital planning package developed, and this is the second of the capital budgets that are out in front. This budget here is considerably trimmed down in that from the requests, in that there was one large piece which we'll be talking about, I'm sure, in the very near future. The fire chief will be coming forward looking for another fire truck. There was other pieces in this capital budget, as you have in front of you, that were not recommended to the board and not recommended to this body. So as you look at that capital budget and by funding source, it's broken down. We have a prior year on a debt on a truck that we bought, a big truck at the highway department. We have a series of buildings pieces, piece of HVAC at the highway department, storm drain repairs throughout the roads, which you could argue about Chapter 90 for some time. There is some allocation for monies at the Graves Memorial Library. That's part of a 3-year plan. The goal there was to get to a little over $30,000, primarily for, again, HVAC and some interior surfaces. The police have a cruiser. The general Sunderland Public Library has an ongoing program with their HVAC infrastructure, where one of the components of their 14-odd air handlers needs to be replaced. And instead of it failing and coming to the town, we budget that now, and they can simply allocate for it, which makes good sense. The police cruiser, you see, we had a replacement originally of 47 and change. We had an insurance settlement. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but one of our cruisers was in an accident. That vehicle was deemed totaled, and the insurance settlement was in almost $30,000, so that value stays in capital stabilization. We're not asking for the replacement cost. For me, the most exciting part is, under administration, a buildings assessment, and that is an RFQ to be developed. This money is to have architect and engineering firm assess our facilities, and then in those facilities generate a 10, 20, and 30-year expected capital forecast, roofs, whatever it is, and that's for all of the town structures. That $30,000, with any luck, and with good practice, and hopefully I'll be on that side of the table to vote on it when it comes around, is going to be for those kinds of repairs, long-term maintenance improvements that keep our buildings up and running. and keeps us from having to borrow a bunch of money. So this has to do with capital planning. Below that, you've got PEG access, which is technology improvements. That's a straight-up appropriation from PEG, which is Comcast revenues, telecommunication. And then lastly, sewer reserve. Our total this year, interestingly enough, a couple of years ago, we'd have been using exclusively free cash for that. Our total this year ends up being $146,000. And the capital committee actually has 2 ad hoc positions that are available, and it's about a quarterly, it'll be about a quarterly meeting program. So you get to understand the assets of the town and work on that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, this requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 7, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Declare it unanimous. Thank you. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 8.
Second.
Okay, Article 8 deals with money from the Community Preservation Fund.
Hi, my name is Catherine Hand. I'm the director of the Sunderland Public Library. We're the ones who put forth this request to the Community Preservation Committee. We're requesting Community Preservation Act funding to partially sponsor backyard improvements to the space in between behind the library and Town Hall. I lovingly call this spot the backyard of Sunderland. We do a lot of outdoor programming back there, and it's not uncommon that you'll see people doing, little meetings, people practicing Qigong and Tai Chi. It's a really wonderful, lovely space, and we're hoping to use this funding to improve the space, to preserve it, and make sure that it's there for future generations to come, and that it's best for all of our citizens. So we're asking for funding from the CPA to add increased electricity outdoors. One of our best programs is our summer concert series, and right now we're running extension cords through the windows and stuff to make sure we don't blow any fuses. So we just like to add a little electricity out there. We're also adding additional lighting outside, which will make it safer for folks who wish to use it in the nice warm summer months outdoors. We are hiring an arborist to consult throughout this entire project to make sure that the historic American elm tree, that's such a vital part of that backyard, is preserved and safe for anything that we do and for any increased activity that takes place back there. We would like the arborist to conduct root pruning, branch pruning, and some cabling, and soil aeration, which is going to improve the health of the roots to make sure that that tree stays standing for as long as it possibly can. We also would like to add a small amount of concrete to the patio area back there, and that is going to make the space more accessible. Currently, for folks who come to our concerts, if they are in a wheelchair, they're sitting in the absolute furthest back up against the walls of Town Hall because that's where there is flat space. So we'd like to add some flat space, number one, so they can be part of that experience, and number two, so folks who wish to dance don't have to worry about twisting an ankle in a hole on the grass. And there's also going to be some minor landscaping involved too. The library is also putting forth a lot of the funding itself. Last year we had a vote in order to change the nature of a fund that we have that was originally given to the library for building and equipping the new library building. The building's no longer new. We would like to be able to spend that money down for its original purpose of equipping the library. So we're going to be using that to increase the electricity, connect the outdoor electricity to the indoor electricity. We also would like to purchase equipment for outdoor movies, which includes an inflatable screen, wireless speakers, and a backlit projector. All of this equipment is portable and can be used indoors as well. So we would like to offer this equipment to other Sunderland civic organizations if they would like to use it too. We'd also be doing some blackout blinds to make sure that the backyard stage is well lit only from the outside. And that's all. Does anyone have any questions about this project?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey. Okay, no questions. We'll vote on Article 8. Okay, all those in favor of Article 8 to make improvements to the library, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Declare it unanimous. Article 9.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 9.
Second?
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Town clerk?
No. I think.
We're seeking funds under this article to preserve historical records that are located in the town vault and at the town office building. It'll also create an archival records management system of all the existing records. We had someone come out from King Information Systems in November, and they did a very comprehensive assessment of all the records that are located in the town vault and at the town office building. And they found records dating back to the early 17 and 1800s, and we feel it's really important to preserve those records and to get an archival system and a records management system in place for the existing records so that we'll have easier access to the records when we're trying to locate records for departmental use or to fulfill public records requests, which we're getting now a lot too. And under the new public records law, there's fines that can be imposed if we don't respond to records requests promptly. So the funds under this article would be used to preserve historical records and to create an archival and records management system for the town.
Thank you.
What system are you preserving the records? Is it digital preservation or what?
Some records are microfilmed in town, and then we are creating storage. They'll be boxed and categorized, and they'll be shelved, and those kind of things. There'll be a database for all the records.
The reason I ask this is some years ago we had issues with the history of roads in the town, and it was very difficult to determine what the history of those words were because the records were so inadequate and incomplete. And at the time, this was 25 years ago, I guess, the same question came up about preserving these records.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not much has happened since then.
Well, we feel this is a good start, getting them organized, knowing where everything is, and we can certainly build on it in the future.
I think maybe the confusing part is we've been preserving books, like the records that I hold. So we've done many years of preserving the actual text so that the books are preserved. Now, especially, we should have been doing this for the last almost 300 years, 299 years.
Give or take.
Give or take. But what happens at the end of the year is that books just, and documents go in a bin and they go upstairs. With the recent law changes with the open meeting law, the public records, now the fines are a little stricter and more costly to us. And you're going through, like the collector treasures things, there must have been about 10 of them. And everybody did something different. And then all of us are going up and we're going through and just trying to find what we need to find, figure out how they filed it, and it's a mess. And so what this will do for us is they come in, they know what we have to keep and what we don't have to keep, and they will put them all in boxes, acid-free boxes, so they're preserved, and we will be able to find them. We'll have a map. So if somebody comes in and says, I worked for the town in 1976, then we have a map that says where those records are.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor of Article 9, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Declare it unanimous. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 10, please.
Second?
Okay. From the Community Preservation Fund. What is this for? Lauren?
This is a CPA fund request related to the 120 North Main Street project. So I was asked to make a brief presentation on the assumption that everyone's been keeping up, but I will do a little background. So in September of 2014, the town voted to purchase the property at 120 North Main Street, it's 2 houses down from Demos, for the purpose of affordable elderly housing. It was a little bit of a pipe dream. A lot of people expressed some doubt about whether there would be space, about the wetlands, about access, but we forged ahead. We had $25,000 in grant money to do a feasibility study and a market analysis, which we did, and basically came to the conclusion that it was feasible, but financially not that risky, probably marginal for a developer. Nevertheless, we went ahead and got another grant for about $6,500 and worked with the COG on an RFP, which is a request for proposals for a development team. And so on this project, basically, we had this idea. We wanted to do it. We'd like it to appear. We don't want to own it, we don't want to operate it, and we basically don't want to pay for it. And that's what the RFP was for. So we sent that out with a little trepidation. We are making the investment of the property. We were very happy to get a response, which was a very strong response from a development team that's sitting on the back. Many of you may have spoken with them, led by RDI. The architect is Austin Design. It's a totally local team. And the project, once built, will be operated not by us, but by them. So they can explain that a little more in a minute if you have more questions. That said, it's a $10.4 million project. We have about $260 into it. And in order for the budget to work out, to make this go financially, and also really to leverage the CPA money to encourage investors to fund the project, to raise the other 97% of the money that's necessary to build this, they are asking that the town contribute another $100,000. And I would note that this is coming from CPA, so this is not money that is this is money that is matched from the state to start with and is not available for sort of general operating. We're using it because it's housing and it's historic preservation. We are also preserving the house at 120 North Main. So just to kind of review the project, the parameters that we set, which is one of the reasons it's such a challenging project, is preserve the house. We didn't want to disturb the rhythm of the historic street. That's usually not, the easiest thing to do. Were there wetlands on the property? Yes, ton. So we had a very limited space, and yet it's a backlot development, so we have sort of a lot of infrastructure to get out to where the building is, and this is what's driving the cost. And so we had originally thought in our studies that we were looking at about 18 units to make this financially feasible. It is a 34-unit project, which on the plus side will create housing for a lot more affordable housing for seniors in our town. And we're very excited about the location, center of town, sidewalks, amenities, transportation. This is why the selectmen really pursued getting the property in the first place. So I think that we are very fortunate to have a project that seems viable. It's going to take several years, even with this, to actually see it come to fruition, but this is really the next step, and it will be very helpful to moving this forward for the town to put in a little more money. We can hear from the development team if you have questions.
I just spoke to a friend who was looking into the South Deerfield a senior affordable housing project they're putting in. All the units are very cookie cutter. You have to walk from the kitchen through the from the dining room through the kitchen into the living room. They all have 2 bedrooms, not much storage. What I'm thinking of is they're all 2-bedroom, and now in this lifestyle, a lot of people are interested in tiny homes, having less rather than more, not 2 bedrooms, maybe a 1-bedroom, maybe a totally open, handicap accessible, with a wet bathroom where if you're wheelchair bound, the entire bathroom is set up for a handicapped person. Things such as that, as opposed to trying to make them little city apartments.
So this particular project is developed to be senior affordable. The majority of the units are 1-bedroom. And if I'm getting anything wrong, Lori, correct me, but I think we only have 2-bedroom units in the entire complex. There are all, other than 2 upstairs units in the original house, all the other units are totally accessible. The design, you can actually see the floor plans behind you. This is, of course, the initial proposal. I got to say, our committee, who's been working on this for 2.5 years, does not want to give up. So we are actually going to try to stay on and be a little bit of a building committee and work on the design a little. But I think you'll find that the units are they're simple, but they are well designed. And one of the benefits of this project sort of growing a little bit is that there are also some shared amenities in the project, which are very beneficial to a senior population. So there is a little bit of a common dining room, a small recreation space, a little shared patio, a space where someone could come in and provide some outside services to the residents. So we actually got a lot of amenities that we didn't anticipate in this design.
So if I can just respond to that as well. My name is Fran Feeney. I'm the Executive Director of Rural Development, Inc. We're the developers of the project. This is extraordinarily different from the project that's being proposed in South Deerfield. That's a home ownership project. This is not a home ownership. This is a rental. So it's going to be based on the individual's income. And this is not 20% affordable. This is 100% affordable for residents in the town of Sunderland. So there are going to be much more, they're going to be much more compact units, and they're going to be much more designed with seniors aging in place. And we already manage we already manage 100 units of senior housing. We've had to do a lot of retrofits to properties over the years because people are staying longer in their units, and to make it much more accessible and comfortable for them. So the roll-in showers is not, we will definitely have several of those within the development.
This is also a step toward our affordable housing problem that we have in town, where we don't have qualified affordable housing. So, and these units will all qualify. So this is also important to us for that reason. And it's what we call a friendly 40B. We can sort of put more units on a small lot because we are developing affordable housing.
I think your mic's off.
How's that?
Oh.
So I just have a simple question. Let's say this is hugely successful, and you have a place for, what, 24 or something like that?
34.
34, and you have 50 applicants. What criteria will you use for who gets accepted?
There will be a local preference. So people from the town of Sunderland, employed in the town of Sunderland, will have preference. But it will be done under fair housing guidelines. So we will make sure we will also comply with all fair housing guidelines. Income. Income will be based, the rent will be based on the person's income. So in the proposal, we have a certain number of units that are at 30% of area median income, which is set by HUD. Then there's a certain number of units that are at 50% of area median income, and then another that are at 60% of area median income. No. 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 Because we were asked to provide affordable housing and if we have several projects throughout Franklin County where the income levels for seniors in those properties are at 30% of area median income, and we have 2 to 3 year waiting lists, in some cases longer. Mm-hmm.
Quick question. So it had some money go out before, grants and otherwise, and $100,000 here out of CPA. What additional monies that the town expected to put forth for the remainder of this project, if any?
None. I mean, this is as far as I know, this is what we are being asked to do to kind of push it over the top. And also, I'd like to just say one thing that I certainly have learned in this process is that affordable housing is not inexpensive. It is financed in a way that makes it work. So this is, it's a $10 million project. We have never built, we have not, our municipal projects haven't really been $10 million, so.
The vast majority of the funding will be coming through state resources. We'll get an allocation of low-income housing tax credits and work with people that will help bring investors to the table so that we will be able to capitalize and on those tax credits, they will put funds into the project, which will trigger a whole lot of compliance and everything else that we will have to deal with. But it's really, most of the money will be coming from the state.
Richard Lepatka from the CPC here. I want to make a small number of comments, so put the financing all together for you if I could. We have money coming in and we have money coming out. We're a financial system that sort of runs by itself, so it's outside the 2.5 overrides, and so we can manage funds in a slightly different way to some degree. When we first heard about this project and the idea of some more CPA money involved in it, we immediately got engaged with the developer, who's turned around a very nice proposal in a very short amount of time. So I was quite impressed with that. What we have been doing in the meantime is looking over what other obligations in CPA do we have interest in over the next few years. And would this project get in the way, or would the other projects get in the way of this? So we spent a little time looking forward to some degree. And we're pretty sure that we can handle this without going sideways in any regard with other subjects or that we have some interest in. We're pretty sure. So I'm, in my sense of it, this is a starting point. It's better to do it now than later. We need to talk to developers and show where the community comes out on this to some degree. So having this money appropriated next year or even halfway through the following year isn't as useful as having the money right now. It's going to be a challenge to go through the funders process to some degree and sort of get the other investors involved. There's probably 6, 7, 8 different sponsors of this when we get done. We're the smallest, probably. It's a $10 million project, and we're giving $10,000 to to it to some degree. What percentage of that investment is us? It's less than 1%. So it's not going to break anybody's back, and it's not going to solve the funding problem for this. But I just want to make the point that we do have other interests and other monies involved, and this fits fairly nicely. More does not. So I think we would be inclined as an organization to not want to sponsor any more of this particular project. The project has been presented with the selectmen being the decider. There's a very general article there that says that we'll do $100,000 of support for the development part of this project. So it doesn't get much more specific than that. That could end up to be a whole thing right now. It could end up to be no money at all. It could be changed a couple different ways. So we're fairly flexible on how this would all work out. So we're off to a good start with this developer. We think we understand the monies, and it's probably a chance for us to sort of really do this well.
If I can add one more thing, the competition for the funding to develop this project is highly competitive. We will be going up against much larger projects from all across the state. So the addition of these funds will show a substantial town support of the project and will give us some competitive advantages against some of the larger projects that will be bringing in other sources of funding. So we just are thrilled that the town is even considering providing that type of support.
I had two questions. I live on South Main Street, and I actually had three questions. So the architect is from what town? Coleraine. And the developer is from Turners Falls. Okay. And I love the project. I think it looks great. Is there one that you all have done that's got 10 or 20 years under its belt that we could look at to see how it's been maintained and what it's going to look like down the road?
I wear a couple different hats, and one of my other hats is Executive Director of the Franklin County Regional Housing Redevelopment Authority. And the Housing Authority will actually be the property manager for the project. We have, matter of fact, I did a tour with several people from the town of Irving this morning. We did a tour of our property in Shelburne, which is Highland Village, 46 units of senior housing. We did a tour of our property in Bernardston, Stratton Manor, which has 20 units, and we did a tour in Gill, Stoughton Place, which was built in 1999 and has 20 units. And if there are people within the town that want to come and do a tour, I'm sure the committee can organize this and we can make arrangements.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Carl Fiocchi. I've been on the 120 North Committee since the beginning, and I just wanted to underscore what Lauren has pointed out and Richard has pointed out. It's been a long process with a lot of thought and effort behind it. And when we put the RFP out, we were concerned that there might be a less than limited response. And the response that we got, remember that it was one response, was what was quite remarkable about it is the amount of effort, the study, and the thoroughness of that project and of the proposal in all aspects, including its architectural sensitivity. And so what I would like to say is that $100,000 bills, they aren't out of style around my house either, and haven't gotten there yet. And so it's a relatively small amount of skin in the game that the town of Amherst will have in this project. And so I encourage you to pass this. I think that it's an opportunity not to be missed. Thanks.
Good. I can't talk. Whoop, there it is. Okay, we're ready to vote on Article 10. All those in favor of Article 10, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. I declare it unanimous. Article 11.
I'd like to move Article 11.
Second.
Okay, Article 11, CPA. We've just voted money from CPA from the fund on 2 previous articles. I hope people know what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Jennifer Uncles. I'm the treasurer for the Community Preservation Committee. And this Article 11 is basically the budgeting article for the community preservation funds. And basically, we're required to allocate 10% of the total money raised from both the surcharge and the state match. So at any given year, the Department of Revenue tells us what that percent match is going to be, and it has ranged from 11% to 26% for budgeting, and then at the end of the cycle, we've ended up getting 100% match for all of the surcharge money that the town has put into the fund. So the budgeting article reflects that the other requirement that we have is to have 10% go into the 3 categories that the Community Preservation Fund is legally allowed to provide funding for, along with recreational too. There's the Historic Resources Reserve, the Community Housing Reserve, and the Open Space Reserve. Those are the 3 categories that 10% is required to go into. So the 25,000, 26,000, 25,000 are part of that 10% plus any correction that has to be made because we were only allowed to budget 18% of that state match last year, but we got 100% match, which we've gotten every year since we joined the Community Preservation Program. And then the undesignated reserve captures the rest of it, and that can also be used for community housing, historic resources, open space, as well as recreational projects that qualify under what's allowed by the law. And then we also have an administrative expense at the top there, $6,000, and the community preservation debt service is what we're paying out toward that 120 North Main Street purchase to help pay for that under CPA money. Any questions? I know that's a lot of numbers.
Okay. Any questions? All right. All those in favor of approving the budget for the Community Preservation Fund, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Declare it unanimous. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Article 12, please.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
Nope.
I think somebody would like to discuss that.
Hello? Okay, good. I can finally hear myself now. Great. First of all, my name is Tom Zimnowski. I'm the chair of the Sunderland's 300th Anniversary Committee. And in light of the hour, I won't give you my 49-slide PowerPoint presentation. We'll just cut the program. Thank you. Very good. Now, first of all, I just want to take, and I think at this point here, we're just going to run down a few notes here, but I also want a representative from the parade committee to be up here along with me, and also from our souvenir committee. And I think, who wants to come up here from the parade? Brenda, would you come up here? Okay. Brenda Wozniakowicz, and then I think we have Cindy Benjamin out in the back there coming up. Oh, there she is, coming up. She's the chair of the souvenir committee. So basically, first of all, I just want to take and give thanks to the select board and also the support that we've been getting in from the town administrative, Sherry, Cindy, Wendy, the select board. And I also want to take and say thank you to the Drake family for their contributions in memory of Reuben. We're almost been going as long as the senior housing development going on. We started off in October of 2015. The select board called together a brief public forum over at the library to take and start discussing what's going to be happening in 2018. Quite surprisingly, we had probably 30 to 40 people attend those forums. At those forums, it was like asked, public input, anniversary's coming up. How do you want to take and celebrate 300 years? We know that we had a pretty darn good celebration for the 250th, and that bar was raised pretty high at that celebration. And I, for one, I think was in the 8th grade, under the direction of, 8th grade, yeah, I remember everything about it. I think a lot of other people have pleasant memories about that big event. So anyways, from that forum, people from throughout the town came up with these ideas, what they wanted to take and highlight. A grand parade. They wanted to take and have a parade that would take and have people from the town, organizations and that march down and honor the town that way. Fireworks, that was a theme that was popping up all the time. Oh, we got to have some fireworks, and they have to be good fireworks because it's 300 years. We also have to honor the veterans. We have a wonderful Veterans Memorial out there, and they want to take part and enjoy and honor, respectively, the veterans there. An anniversary ball, why not? Have a nice dance, have an anniversary ball. Highlight the farming heritage and the present farmers. The open space and what we like about this town. The open space, farms, and fields. Showcase the river. How are we going to do that? Well, we've got ways as things have popped up. Embrace open spaces once again. Explore the mountains, something that we forget about. Exploring the mountains, the trails, the biking roads up there, the log roads. Youth teen events, something to take and entertain the youth of Sunderland. And then another thing was the variety of music. They want music. They want to take and have lots of bands and have people come together and enjoy the music of Sunderland. So from those two meetings, the word went out for people to take and raise their hands, send in a letter of support, and or that they want to take it beyond the committee. So guess what? We sent in some letters. We were the chosen ones, I guess. And here we are tonight. So we are now members that we've been meeting since 2016. So what have we been up to since 2016? Well, trying to take and organize, coming up with themes, coming up with ideas. And I want to take, and when we were walking in tonight, our logo that you see there is one of them. And we want to take and thank Will Sillen for his efforts in designing the logos, and also Una Miller and her family for helping to take and design some of the logos that are on our souvenirs. We developed a website. We're getting a Facebook account up and running. We're handing out, we did a leaf collection to start off and get the word out, and this was last year. We made a few bucks on it. We didn't lose money, so we made a few bucks, but we're getting the word out. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Martin Composting for the generous support. They were the ones that offered the container at no charge so that people could come jump off their leaves and their fall waste, bring it up there for composting. We started to sell souvenirs, a limited amount of souvenirs. We created a parade committee. And guess what? When the vote came up to take, the suggestion came up, okay, we got to start a parade committee. Who wants to be on it? Well, we had people just standing up and going for it. They want to be a part of the parade community. I think my batteries are dying or something like this. I'm getting dull. Okay. And the souvenir committee. And Cindy Benjamin started up with the souvenir committee. We have some active people on that committee. We requested proposals for events from the townspeople. What do you want to take and do? What would you suggest? And what do you want to take leadership in doing? What do you want to take and call your own to take and add to this event? We got numerous suggestions and events. Now, we got this, and also we sent a letter to the Representative Kulik for state support, and I want to take and thank Sharon Swinehart to take and that helped author that letter to go out to Representative Kulik. So overall, the goal is to provide a quality 300th anniversary celebration that like no others. And a couple of highlights that came in from the people were that it is to be quality, it is to be hometown, focusing on the citizens of Sunderland, focusing on the talents that we have, and also that anything that we start selling, like souvenirs or whatever like this, be quality and be locally produced as close as possible. So anyways, here we are. Yes, we can. We're going to take and do it. And so pretty much at this point here, the big thing is that, as you can see the card coming out this evening, to save the date. The parade committee has been meeting for quite a while, and they have a date set, June 16th, 2018, 1 p.m. The parade will be starting off from here. So at this point here, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Brenda Wojciechowicz. And so Brenda, take away the parade.
Can you hear me? I just want to first say the members of the committee are working really hard getting supporters for the bands we're getting in that. And just so you know who's on the committee, we have Vinnie Grandonico, Peter Kalesa, Bruce Bennett, Lenny Von Flattern, Aaron Wiley, Mike Wozniakevich, and me. Okay? So when we started talking about the parade, you start saying, what do you want in the parade? Why do you want the parade? And it was to bring the people in Sunderland together and to bring people home to Sunderland. A lot of us have kids who, it's going to be kind of like a homecoming. And then we started thinking, listening to Tom and other people, their memories of when they were kids. So then we're saying, we need to incorporate the kids into this too. So to backtrack a little bit, the parade actually blossomed into more than the parade. We're looking at doing, first of all, Friday night before the parade, we're hoping to get the elementary school kids in to do some kind of a performance so that they feel part of it. They need to feel part of it. And that makes it something that they can look forward to, their parents can look forward to, and it brings the community together. It brings people together who don't know each other. We're going to get to know our neighbors and learn more about them and just feel more connected as a community. We have, one thing I have to say, we have a huge tent that's coming in, and we're going to use it for a few events, but the company we're using it with is giving us a discount, and they're putting it up for almost a week. So keep in mind, anybody who has a group who wants to raise money, it's there if you want to use it for something, the church have a pancake breakfast or whatever. So that's Friday night. So this is the plan. We get kind of excited, so if I get ahead of myself, sorry. But so the kids will do a performance Friday night, and then we have a band, which actually I've talked to Catherine, and the Friends of Library have agreed to sponsor one of the bands for us, so that's exciting. And then Saturday will be the parade at 1. Where we have, just so you know, we already have the Shriners committed to it, and we have a sponsor for the Shriners. So this is what our committee's been working on, getting sponsors for a lot of these things. We're hoping to have 10 divisions with 10 units in the divisions. That's coming from talking to Holyoke Parade and Hadley Parade. Talking to people, you don't want to parade, I've heard you don't want to parade 2 hours long because people get tired of that, so we're trying to figure maybe an hour and a half. And they actually figured a formula for how many steps, so on and so forth, and how long it takes to go so far. So we figured from here to North Silver Lane, that's about an hour and a half for what we want for the units and the divisions we want in our parade. After the parade, again, we already have bands committed to doing, for entertainment. We're hoping to bring in some entertainment for the kids again, maybe a hayride type of thing, possibly hot air balloon, and food, and some food vendors, people in town, if groups, women's club and that, who fall festival style, could raise money for their groups, their organizations. And then that would lead into fireworks. And I think that would probably wrap up a really fun weekend. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes, it will be behind the town, the old elementary school, actually, the town hall. Okay?
Thank you very much. And before, we were talking about where the fireworks and stuff like that, but the grand fireworks display, we've been working with the contractors there, and what we have to take and do is come down, scope out some locations or whatever, but hey, we've got the things planned out. We're going to take a lot of time and effort to take and allocate funds and also locations for everything, but it seems like they're setting the foundation for our celebration for that weekend is going to be located behind the town office building. And so, as Brenda mentioned, she says, we've got a good deal on the tent, the staging, the lighting, the chairs, the tables, and everything to go along with that. Santa cans and you name it, they've already taken and looked into the budgeting of that and making it available for other community members and organizations to come together that weekend to take and do something there. Yes, it's a ways away, but we have to take and start planning now. And one other thing, when we mentioned to Sherry regarding our budget, which we're getting into now, that our budget, I said, well, because we break it down, it's going to be over 2 fiscal years. That she says, do you want to see the entire program? Do you want to see the entire pie? So here it is. Yes, the parade is in June of this coming fiscal year, but a lot of other activities are going to be in the following year. So we're putting together our complete budget for the complete program. So next we have souvenirs. So Cindy Benjamin, you want to talk about souvenirs?
Good evening, everybody. I'm not much of a public speaker, but I'll try my best. I just wanted to say that we have some souvenirs out in the hallway today if you want to purchase any or look to see what we have available. And Will Sillen, I saw him here earlier, and Brent Hale, both are Sunderland residents. They created the designs of all the souvenirs except for the jewelry, which we just got from Robin Marie Sills. Is that her name? She's also local from Pittsfield area. All the items we have for sale are quality products and are locally made. We've used Sunrays Printing in Hadley. That's one of the vendors that the town uses. Paint the Town paint printers in Palmer. And Pacific Printing in Northampton. We hope to use the t-shirts and hoodies that we're going to purchase later on. So a lot of the souvenirs we have available, and when they're gone, they're gone. We probably won't reorder them, so they're in limited supply. But we will keep ordering more stuff, particularly this fall. And we're going to be selling at different events. I've already got approval from the library and the elementary school to sell at events. I got a few other people to check into. We're going to have a holiday ornament, t-shirts, hoodies, marble coasters, a set with 4 different designs and a wrought iron holder. We're looking for other ideas. If people have them, just let the people selling the souvenirs know what your suggestion is, and we'll look into it. Can't promise that we'll buy it, but we will definitely look into it. So far we've made a profit, and our profit for souvenirs is about $250. Una, our treasurer, I have some money to give to you, the library sales. and we've sold about $1,200 worth of souvenirs to date. So I guess that's about it, unless there's any questions.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't here 50 years ago when we had our last celebration.
Oh, you missed a big party.
But I do know that a very nice book was put together at that celebration, and it seems to me that celebrating is a fine thing to do, and we've heard many of your ideas, but also looking back at the history of Sunderland, which was represented in this book, seems like an appropriate thing to do. So my question is, will there be a book for the 300th, and to what extent will the Historical Society be involved? I haven't heard any mention of them.
The Historical Society has taken some steps in sponsoring some of the events that will be coming up. As for the history book, we did have several proposals that came up originally to take and put together a book of the celebration, and that would be post-celebration. That times are now changing a lot, and from what we're going to take and offer on the website, we're going to have a photographic page, where people can upload. We do have the Facebook page going. Our website will be containing a lot of the pictures and other documents in that, but also it is in the back of our minds that as the time gets closer and the event starts, that we would like to take and have some sort of a professional photographer kind of taking the images in that, so that at the end we can then take and put together a coffee table book type thing. Because things have changed so much, and the not emails, but websites, they offer printing services and that stuff, that seems to be bringing down the cost of designing that book. What we need is a person and or a committee to take and sit down and work on a format before the celebration starts, so that we understand what we need, how we can take and present the book, and what we need to do to put the stuff in the book, and then get a price on that so that we can also take and offer that as a souvenir. So that's at the back of our mind at this point here. But yes, a post-production coffee table book, definitely. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you. Is there a copy of the proposed budget for this, $105,000? I mean, there's a lot of events.
Right.
It's great, but it's a hefty budget. It's almost half the fire department's budget for the year, so just wondering.
We have notes on that. We have our proposals, and we do have things, but no, we did not have a formal handout for the budget, because it is, I don't want to say it's constantly changing, but every time we meet, we have new presentations coming in, and also more people are getting involved in possibly donating and giving their services. And that is what we've had some long meetings. We've had, we're trying to take and figure out how we're going to take and do this. And I just want to take and tell you that one of the things that really keeps me going personally is the fact that when you're thinking about, I need help, and I get emails or phone calls, or people come up and say, I'll give you services. I will do this for you. I want to do that for you. A couple of things that I'll just take and throw off the bat, on top of the head. We brought up, how are we going to take and celebrate the Connecticut River? Any ideas? Well, people went out, they looked around, and they brought up a suggestion. How about having the first ever kayak canoe race on the river? Because the boat ramp is going to be redone this year, and I guess it's going to be in October. The river is nice and clean, and so we got in contact with the New England Kayak Canoe Association, NECA or whatever. They sent me down a proposal, and also they sent me help. They said, we want to see this happen. And so pretty much we feel that we can pull in 200 to 300 kayakers and canoers, $25 a pop to take and register. This would be programmed into the New England regional circuit, so that other kayakers and canoers can come down here. It will be timed, it will be operated according to the specifications and that stuff. They get points, and this will be one of the best flat water races that they do have, going probably around the first two islands in that. So I'm looking for volunteers to take and help put that thing together. I got the owner's manual how to take and do it. We could probably make some money. Another person that used to take and do the Century Bike Tour around the Century Cloverleaf Tour, She contacted me and said, we want to do it again. We haven't done it for a couple of years. We want to do it again. And it's a cloverleaf bike ride that's about 100 miles, or people can take part in it, go this way, that way. The center part is in Sunderland here, and we're highlighting the bike trails in Sunderland. And she says, I'm going to use my own money for this. I will take and support it. She says, after whatever I make, and we always make a profit, it's going to go right to the town's 300th anniversary committee. Another thing, she says, one request, when you book this thing in, because we're going to take and sit down in June with our calendar of events, with June, July, August, September, October, and November, all the proposals that we have, all the people that are going to be stepping forward, all the organizations that want to be part of this, they're going to be at that meeting, or they should be at that meeting, to take and say, this is what I want to take and do, and let's clump these things together so that on weekends like the June 16th, we're going to have a celebration with a parade, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. July and August are hot around here, whatever, people take off on vacation, but a weekend in September, a weekend in October, and also the Veterans Memorial Program on November 11th at the town offices, and then we have 2 people that are going to be organizing the Gala Ball over at the Blue Herring in that. And you're going to say, yeah, go ahead. Tom. Okay. Yeah, I know I get so excited. Call the question.
I just wanted to touch on the budget, because you asked if there was a budget. And yes, we're asking for $105,000. But, and the parade is probably the biggest, so that's why I wanted to say something. We do have our budget we have asked, and it's an estimate. This is why I wanted to say $47,000, which sounds like a lot. But we are getting sponsors for the big parts of our parade. And what we're hoping is we're going to be giving money back. Well, you know, the $105,000 is to get us started. We're hoping to turn money back. That we're not going to stop at, you know, asking for the money and not working towards getting sponsors. I just want everybody to be aware of that. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Now, from what I've listened to the discussion, we've sort of strayed away from the budget. And for folks who are interested in what this thing is going to look like, I suggest that you attend the meetings of the committee to make your thoughts known there. Tom has given us a good oversight of what's going to happen. And in terms of the budget, you know, that's the information we need. We don't need the details in terms of, you know, what's going to happen exactly when.
I just get so excited.
So, any budget-related questions?
Una's our...
Is this all right? I just want to say, I do have a spreadsheet, and for each one of the proposed activities, there is a dollar amount. So it's not like we're flailing and throwing out $105,000. There is an estimate for the expenses for each of these events. Big ticket items are parade, fireworks, and that party with the tent. All of the other items are a couple hundred for advertising, 1,000 or 2,000. Those are the big ticket items. Those are really what you're approving when you approve that $103,000. If that doesn't go, if the majority of that money is not approved, you lose the parade, you lose the party after.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to call the question, which means that if you vote in favor of this, debate is ended and we vote on the article. So, the first thing we do is vote to call the question. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I think the ayes have it. And I'll be up front. No, I won't, not at this point. Now we have to vote on the budget, on the article. So, All those in favor of Article 12 to fund the celebration, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. I'd say that the ayes have it. I'll be up front. I haven't been a supporter of spending 105 grand on a party. But on the other hand, I respect the people who have put a tremendous amount of effort into putting this thing together. And I think that we should support them in their efforts and be good participants when it comes time to celebrate in 2018. So thanks for your efforts.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to take and close by saying this. I've attended many town meetings and that stuff, and I know exactly how tight the town is, but how good the town is. And I just want
You're done.
Say, I just want to take and say thank you. And we're going to put on the best program ever. Thank you. Mic drop.
You run the website. Do you put it on there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Article 13.
I move Article 13, Mr. Chair, Moderator. Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. You're going to be quick, right?
Thanks. I'm not going to ask you for any money. How about that? Article 13 is, you have the text in front of you. This is asking the town to vote to instruct our members of Congress to support an amendment to the Constitution to clarify that corporations do not have the same rights as people and that money is not speech for the purposes of election-related spending. So that's what this is about. This is being put forward by the Sunderland Town Democratic Committee. And the focus of this is to inform our legislators in Boston and Washington that about the influence that big money has on our elections and our government, and that it is unacceptable. That influence comes from large corporations, unions, and wealthy people who believe that their voices deserve to be heard above the rest of us. And this warrant article says that that is not the case, that we all deserve to be heard with equal footing before our government. What would happen with this amendment to the Constitution is that we would need a 2/3 majority in Congress, in other words, 67 senators and 290 representatives, to vote in favor of a constitutional amendment, and then 3/4 of the states would have to ratify that. This has been done successfully a number of times over the course of our history. For example, the 13th Amendment ending slavery, the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote, the 26th Amendment establishing voting rights for people 18 years and above. So we are asking for the town to vote in favor of this warrant article. We want to prevent politicians from fundraising, being able to raise all kinds of money and not have to be accountable for where it's coming from. We want to end super PACs that allow for TV advertising and other kinds of advertising that they spend to influence elections. Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission was a Supreme Court decision in 2010 that swept away 100 years of legal precedent that barred corporations giving money for elections. the Citizens United versus the FEC allowed that corporations have the same constitutional rights as we do, as living persons. They don't. The Citizens United decision allowed for unlimited spending by corporations, unions, and other wealthy people in elections. It took away individual limits to make donations to campaigns through super funds. And we think that this is wrong. According to recent polls, 80% of the United States, people in the United States are opposed to this decision that was made by the Supreme Court. And the Sunderland Dems are among that 80%. And we are asking for the town of Sunderland to therefore be it resolved that the voters of Sunderland, Massachusetts would hereby instruct our members of Congress to support an amendment to the U.S. Constitution to provide that corporations are not entitled to constitutional rights of real people and that money is not speech for the purposes of campaign-related expenditures and contributions.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Any questions?
Not a question, just a comment. I'm an independent, and not only does this extend to corporations, but this also includes foreign corporations that you may not be aware of who do, in fact, contribute. I am totally in favor of this, and I hope it passes unanimously.
And you know, the most egregious example, I think, recently is where $10 million of dark money went to support the Supreme Court nomination of the most recently appointed Supreme Court. When's the last time you saw advertisements on TV for a Supreme Court justice? That's just the most obvious and recent example.
Will?
Mr. Moderator, this kind of, we have town business that still lies ahead. I think these articles
Who's speaking? I can't even see who you are. Who's
Will
speaking?
Will Sillen, South Main Street.
Oh, hi, Will.
Hi. I think these kinds of articles should come at the end of the warrant. We still have business to attend to. And I just wanted to point out, there's a number of things I think that you're getting wrong in terms of the Constitution. I'm not the lawyer in the House, but, as an American citizen, we all should understand a little bit about the Constitution. I'm not going to get into it, but I just want to make out one point here, that the petitioners are seeking to deny free speech rights for corporations by asking Sunderland, a municipal corporation, incorporated November 17th, 1718, to send a message to our representatives on behalf of its 3,600 residents, 2,397 voters, based on a vote of about, I'm going to guess we have maybe 130 people here tonight. And if corporations are not people and don't have free speech rights, I think it's a little strange to request a municipal corporation to speak on behalf of the real people, the individual human beings who live here.
I don't hear a second.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to call the question and limit debate, just like we did before. Okay. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. And the reason that I don't ask for any discussion to call the question is it's a non-debatable question. Okay, so now we're ready to vote on Article 13. All those in favor of Article 13, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. I'll declare it by a majority. Okay, Article 14.
I'd like to move Article 14, Mr. Moderator.
Second.
Okay. Article 14 is trying to slow us down. Any explanation?
Mr. Moderator, if I could please, what happened is that we had a few residents that came in spoke specifically about areas, in particular North Plain Road, that had people going well above the posted speed limit. Our new police chief, Eric, is in the back. He assigned officers to go down there, and surprising, there was many cars that were exceeding the speed limit by a healthy margin. So what we can do, Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito, with the House and Senate, came up with ways to streamline government, and they actually, before trying to set a speed limit, was very difficult to do. They streamlined government. Believe it or not, they made government easier for us. That allows our town to talk about its speed limits instead of a lot of bureaucracy. So by passing this, it gives us the option to start talking about if we want to change speed limits in specific areas, and we can go in front of the Board of Selectmen and we can have those discussions.
Any questions?
Okay. Thank you for the explanation. Any discussion? Alex?
I just want to make sure that this wouldn't ever apply to 47 or 116, right?
No, it's fine. It's just 47 is a town-owned highway. It's just a state-numbered highway.
So this could apply to 47?
Yes.
No, it could not. The statute's very, very clear. It's for densely populated areas, and there's a definition in the statute. The definition is territory contiguous in any way where dwelling houses are situated at such distance as will average less than 200 feet between them for a distance of a quarter mile or over.
But the
That's where it applies.
The center of town would apply, right?
Could,
Yeah, Main
if it's a state road.
So
47?
is Main Street a
116?
state road or town road?
47 is not. 47 is a town road.
Well, it's 16. All right.
Oh, that's talking about 47.
Yeah. Oh, 47 makes sense, yeah. Yeah, density.
Sounds like we'll have to get it squared around in terms of 47 and, can you guys regulate 47 and 116 is
Not 116.
Not 116.
116 is a state highway.
state highway? So 47 and
47 is a town, what's that, Dana?
Yes.
say that again?
Locally maintained, state-numbered road.
It's just a state.
Yeah.
But it's a town ordinance.
Okay.
It's our,
We pave it, we plow, we do everything.
If we could have a few examples of roads where the speed limit will be changed, so we just have an idea of what you're talking about.
I guess, Susan, what I would say, the roads that could be changed, you look at North Plain Road, South Plain Road, Silver Lane, whatever the chief of police would go and define what a thickly settled area by statute is. They could be. So we'd come before the Board of Selectmen, there'd be a public hearing, and we'd run the process that way.
I don't understand the logic. If people are not adhering to a 30-mile-per-hour road limit, what's the purpose of reducing it to 25 miles per hour and incurring all the signage and all of the other expenses? How does this help us decrease the speed people are going on those roads? I don't understand that.
Chief, you want to answer that question?
That's a good point. It's from the enforcement of the
Could you just do me a favor and repeat the second half of that? Could you repeat the second half of the question?
We're going to reduce it to 25, and we think that's going to help. They're not adhering to the current one. They're not going to. How are they going to adhere to a lower one?
Okay, well, it's multifaceted on that question, but the speed itself of 35 miles an hour would, well, on North Main Street and South Main Street's 35. There's one road in question was at 30, 35 already. So by reducing a vehicle speed by 5 miles per hour would greatly reduce the chances of impact in a motor vehicle crash, a pedestrian crash, a crash of those nature. So by reducing the speeds, then the enforcement of that, if needed, can come up. And a police officer being able to enforce a speed limit of 25 is greatly easier than a speed limit of 30 or 35. The same, to go off of that, the same reason why we try every morning to be out in front of the school zones, because 8 months ago when I got here, a lot of people were not adhering to the school zone posted of 20 miles per hour. And now people are, because they're starting to see more police. The police presence did affect the speed limit, yes. The speed limit itself is still 20 miles per hour.
Can't hear you. Okay.
I just want to say, everybody always goes 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. They don't go 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So when you lower the speed limit, they do drive slower.
I kind of agree with her.
Dana.
Don't you?
Right. I think the way I understand this, the way speed limits are set in Massachusetts is based on 85th percentile. So we can say that we have a speeding problem on North Main Street, South Main Street, you pick the street, and so the state goes out and records what the average speed of people are going, and that's what the speed limit should be set at. The 85% of the people are exceeding the speed limit is too low. And I think that's what this law is intended to do, is not raise the speed limit because everyone's speeding. It's to give the town the authority to lower the speed limit even if 85% of the people are exceeding the speed limit. I think that's what we're missing here.
Larry?
Hi, I live on North Plain Road, and this is really pretty simple. It's a great road. There's lots of wonderful people that live on it, and there are lots of people walk their dogs, ride their bicycles, and just take strolls down the street all year round. We don't have sidewalks. Not a lot of margin for error, and reducing the speed limit this much, no matter, you can talk the theory of signs all you want, a lower speed limit posted will be a lower speed limit in real life. It's a safety issue, it's a quality of life issue, and the law, the enabling law that the state has passed gives the town the tools to do this efficiently. Take care of it for your neighborhood as well.
Thank you. All right. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of Article 14, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare it unanimous.
You got it, Scotty.
I'd like to move Article
15.
That's David.
It's me, right?
16.
I'd like to move Article 15, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Move Article 15. Any discussion on Article 15?
Patty wants to.
Do you want to get up?
Mr. Moderator, if I could please, back in 2004, the Frontier School Committee had come to the towns and asked for a sum of money to repair the Whately, I believe they call it the center school at the time.
Central office.
Huh? And the town authorized that money. The Frontier administration had applied some of that money to the building, not all of it. not too long ago, they had major concerns about the building going forward. A decision was made to move to the Frontier Regional High School, to move into the Frontier Regional High School, consolidate all the services there. So what they're asking for is to use some of that money that's left over to be applied to their moving expenses.
Okay. Any discussion?
Why don't you just return the money back to the budget, the original budget?
Actually,
That's what you could have.
Actually, if I could, that original appropriation was a standalone warrant article, and the only reason we're revisiting it is because it needs to be redressed in that form as a standalone warrant article. So it never makes it to the budget. That's the key.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of Article 15, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Declare it unanimous. Article 16.
Move Article 16.
Nice. So if I could, Mr. Moderator, Article 16 is the town adopting and Mass General Law 4453E and a half. That's perfect, because it's a half a statute. The reality here is this allows us to, by adopting the statute, continue doing practices we already do. This is how revolving funds are established, how revolving funds, which we have several, inspection services, Board of Health. We've had very common practice of taking in fees for a service for those boards and those bodies. The town, however, has never actually adopted the statute. And this came out of twofold. One was an audit, our financial audit, and the second was, of course, from our own legwork. So we want to codify a practice the town's been employed for some time.
Housekeeping.
Nothing changes with respect to there's no expansion of services, there's no expansion of fees. We voted that actually in a prior article, the ability to raise through a revolving fund. We just never adopted the law.
Okay, so
Once again, Sunderland is way out ahead.
okay. All those in favor of Article 16, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare unanimous. Article 17.
Move Article 17. Second.
Deals with zoning. You're the boss. It's your night.
Dana Roscoe from the Planning Board. So it was not our intention to change the zoning. What we wanted to do was make the zoning more readable, more findable, if you will. The zoning had no table of contents. It was like petitioner would come in with an issue, and literally it's like Where's Waldo, flipping through the pages trying to find the relevant statutes that applied. So what we did was worked with Franklin Regional Council of Governments. They took the first pass at it. They took everything that we had and just put it in a much more logical format. So things applying to landscaping all fell in the same section, and things applying to lighting all fell in the same section, and you don't have to look at lighting in 125.15.3 and 125.16.4. Put all of the like things together. Franklin County took the first pass at it. We spent 3 or 4 meetings going over that. Then Steve Snyder on our committee donated a ton of his time to get it all formatted and in a searchable format on Microsoft Word. And then Beth Berry donated a ton of her time to read every single word and make sure that we didn't screw up and leave something behind. So we've tried really, really hard to give you back what we started with, just in a format that everyone can use. For the sake of saving, a couple gazillion trees, we only gave you just one single page. The zoning, as it's been proposed, is available on the website. The state law requires that we have a public hearing, which we had 3 weeks ago, to go over with anyone that was interested in discussing exactly what it was that we did and detailing every single word. There were maybe 2 examples where we might have changed something. Our definition in our definition section defined a family as 5 unrelated members, and state law says a family is 4 unrelated members. So we did change that one definition because our definition was violating the state law, and there might have been 1 or 2 other instances where some minor little issue was clarified. But our intent was never to change the zoning, only to make the zoning more usable and more approachable.
So basically cleaning things up.
Does your new indexing reference the original documentation?
Right. So if we look at the back of this summary sheet, you'll see exactly the indexing is all identified. So 125.1 purpose is 125.1/1. 125.2 definitions is 125.1/2. Article 2 dimensional uses, still Article 2. 125.3 districts is 125.2/1. So if you just flip the sheet over, you'll see exactly where it was and where it's being proposed.
Okay. Any other questions? Will?
Dana, so you didn't change actual text, just organization?
Yes.
That was, okay.
Yes. So at the public hearing, we had two people that actually read it, Rock Warner and one other Main Street resident came to the public hearing and had no objections after having actually read it. So I feel pretty confident that we did it right.
Good. The other question I had is when we would go through somebody querying, it depended on the nature of the development. So we had different definitions for lighting, if it was a PUD versus a major residential development and all that. So
there, to your point, there is redundancy now.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Larry?
Sorry if I missed this. Did you say that the copy of this was on your website?
I did.
Okay, thank you. The indication here was that it's only available if you went to the town hall, and I just...
It is on the website, but for legal postings, we put the town hall.
Okay, that's good. I think that's important that everyone gets that access. Thank you.
It was in the paper.
And if I could just make one final comment, in the event that we did screw something up and someone has an issue with that, we can come back and fix it. But it's not our intention to undermine or in any way alter.
One other thing was we did clarify village center district, because there were many places where we talked about commercial and residential and didn't mention village center when that got added 4 or 5 years ago, and so we just added those in. So there are a few wording changes, just to speak to what you asked.
So just to be clear, 4 or 5 years ago, we added a map, and we started to add the words village center in the places where it needed to be added, but we didn't catch every single place where it needed to be added. This iteration should address every single instance where village center is reflected on the map.
Okay. All right. You ready to vote? Article 17 is a zoning article. The zoning articles require 2/3 majority to pass. Okay, all those in favor of Article 17, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Declare it unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move Articles 18 to 23, the consent articles.
Okay, consent articles are articles that are basically allow the government to operate, I won't say easily, but sets a framework for them to operate in. And we vote on these as an entity. So Articles 18 through 23 are going to be voted on as a block. So we've got treasurer collector compensating balance agreements, allows him or her to borrow money short term, move the town off to accept any expended grants, state or federal money. I don't think we're opposed to him accepting money. Accept money from the state for Chapter 90 road work. Board of Selectmen for intermunicipal agreements so that they can talk with other towns. Contracts for goods and services with a duration in excess of 3 years, and allows the town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue. So those are the consent articles. Any questions on any of them? Okay. All those in favor of Articles 18 through 23, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Declare it unanimous. Now, before we dissolve the meeting, I'd like to thank Chris Collins and his crew tonight for trying to give us audio in this terrible room as far as acoustics are concerned. So we appreciate his help. And one of the unsung heroes in our town office is Cindy Bennett. And she's the one that does all of the, I don't want to call it grunt work, but she's the one that makes sure that all of the papers are out, all of us have the appropriate information, and she makes our job a lot easier. So we appreciate her efforts. Need a motion.
Mr. Moderator, this time I'd like to make a motion to dissolve the meeting.
Second.
Motion.
Past Bruce's bedtime.
Motion's been made and seconded to dissolve the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
One last item of business. You want to read your...
No, I was ready to go.
She has to tell us about the election.
Hold on.